James, I was wondering, what is your favourite breed of dog?
My favorite breed of dog, I'm going to go with my wife's favorite, a French Bulldog.
French Bulldog. Well, thanks for your time. Brilliant. As ever. Thank you so much. Really appreciate
Easiest interview ever.
Appreciate that.
Okay.
James, I was wondering why you have said to me, actually, no, this is a cheat, isn't it? James, why do you think Gunther is a character that so many Brits kind of associate with so easily?
I have no idea. I'll leave.
I tell you what, we'll go for another one because that was cheeky of me using the info I just gleaned. I'll start with a really obvious one. And this isn't a dog one. No, we'll come to that because it's a really good question. Did you think, James, in all seriousness, 25 years later, a quarter of a century even, you would still be talking about Friends, and Friends still be such a huge driver of pop culture?
No. About 5 years ago, they had the 20th anniversary and the first Friends Fest here in the UK, and I retired Gunther. I thought has to be it, and then it launched on Netflix, and of course it garnered an entirely new audience of millennials and young people, and they were watching it like it was the first run, and it's more popular now than ever. But I would have never imagined I'd be sitting here with you 25 years after it began, still talking about it.
I mean, what do you make of Friends being so popular to the point where it's actually a major weapon in the artillery of a streaming giant? This brave new frontier of the way in which we consume TV is driven entirely by a show which was huge 25 years ago and still is huge now. Why do you think it is that it has this kind of second lease of life on streaming?
Well, I think Friends specifically, although it's a show that was set in the 90s, that's about the only thing that's dated about it, is the wardrobe, and now the 90s wardrobe and fashion is back. Hairstyles of the 90s are kind of back, and Friends never really was, they never focused on anything that topical. It was more about the characters and their relationships, their archetypes of everyone who's a teenager or a young adult, anywhere in the world, and it's based upon real experiences of the writers. Now I give that credit to the writers because they were writing about their own experiences and then just kind of turning it into something more comedic. Everybody knows a Rachel or a Monica, and I think we all have parts of each character within ourselves. I don't know if everyone has Gunther in them. Maybe Gunther is the extent of that theory of mine.
Do you still have a bit of Gunther in you? Is Gunther always going to be, or do you have more Chandler than Gunther?
I think I'm kind of a mix of a lot of them. Personally, I think all of us are. Everybody has a few Gunther moments. You ever just get to a point where you're just kind of done, and you just don't want to have to go on and confront this person, so you just kind of go deadpan and you just tell them the most serious, honest truth right to the face without showing a lot of emotion. You just keep it right under the surface, but you can tell what's seething there, right? I got my point across right there pretty evidently and pretty efficiently, didn't I?
Yeah, and also I think a lot of British people would recognise that, but also a lot of British people would recognise the fact that you're telling them something straight to their face, but doing it in a very deadpan way.
Yes.
Not a lot of histrionics.
Yes.
That feels like quite a British trait. Have you found that?
I have. Yeah. I mean, I think it's the best way to be, honestly, because you're not being rude, you're not being kind, you're just being honest.
I like not being kind. Like that's as if that.
Well, it's not necessarily being unkind. You're just not being kind. You know, like I live in LA, so I'm there, and they're like, "Oh, I hate you." You know, you can say it like that, and you just go like, "Thanks." You know, just because it's the tone, it's the intonation, and there's not a lot of eye contact. I find that in England, there's a good bit of eye contact, and then there's a quick look away. You know, you say what you mean, and there's like, you got it, right? I said what I had to say. I'm off.
So do you find British fans of Friends will make the eye contact briefly, then look away, as opposed to people staring in your eyes for days, maybe hours?
Yeah, that would be a bit creepy, right? Now that I don't have the Gunther thing going on right now, so I don't get it as much. But when I had the white hair, there was some genuine just love and just the focus, and I want to know about Gunther and what was he like and what are you like and are you Gunther. But now I don't get it so much. But you're right. There's people are more intent here. Is that a right way to describe it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And when you look back on those years filming, what do you remember of those years making that show? I wonder in terms of what the rapport was like on set. I mean, did it change over the years? Did it start out as kind of a group sort of collective effort, and then did it split a bit over the years? What was it like?
Oh no, it stayed cohesive. I mean, honestly, we could not have gone on for 10 years if there was friction. We were very fortunate on the show to have a cast who had immediate chemistry from the very first episode. They didn't know each other before the show started, but they seemed like they'd known each other for years. We had an amazingly talented group of writers and creators who were basically taking from their own experiences and just kind of sensationalizing them a bit and making them far more comedic. Our crew were top of their game. We were a big family, and I can't say anything salacious because there was nothing salacious that happened.
Did it really have that kind of family dynamic then? Was it very much like I say, a collective effort?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That doesn't mean everybody was kind and nice and gentle. And it's like, oh, could you please make sure the camera's in this position rather than that one next time? And could you please refrain from like talking during the scene? No, we had a second AD and a first AD who was like, shut up. You have to have that. You have to have the policeman on set, but they say, I love you afterwards. Thank you for being quiet there. We were all tight knit group, and but yeah, it was regimented because it had to be in a lot of ways. We had 5 days from table read to filming in front of a live studio audience, and we did 22 episodes a year. That's unheard of today. It's just not done that way. So we had to be well oiled, and everybody had to know their lines, your positions, camera positions. Everyone had to do their job. We all had a job to do. We all had a blast doing it, honestly.
I mean, who was it in the nicest possible way hardest working with, because they were prone to corpsing, or they might ad lib, or they might say something or they might react in a funny way? Who was the toughest person to work with in that respect? I mean, toughest and also most fun person to work with?
That would be me.
Did everyone say, I hope I'm with James today? Am I with James? Have I got James time?
Gosh, I hope it's not a Gunther line in this episode. He's so difficult.
And with the show, I mean, you talk about how regimented it was in terms of how much you had to get through. A lot of modern comedies don't shoot in front of live studio audiences these days. Do you think modern comedy misses that slightly, or do you like the evolution of certain comedic formats?
I think it's according to what type of show it is. For Friends, I don't think it could have worked if there wasn't an audience there, because we were dependent upon the audience's reaction to know if a joke had landed or not. And if the audience did not react the way that the writers or the actors or anyone expected it to, we were fortunate that the writers were there on set with us while we were filming, and if it didn't land on the first take, they would huddle up, go along, they'd write it, discuss, get with the actors, boom, boom, here's your new page, and we'd go back and shoot it again with new jokes, or with a new joke that would land 99% of the time. If that one didn't land, they'd write it again. But that was very rare. Very, very rarely did that happen, because we had the show pretty much well oiled by the final camera blocking, which was Friday afternoon, and then we shot them, for the audience on Friday night. Going back and thinking about it, it's just it's unheard of. And like you said, I mean, a lot of the shows, the modern shows, you don't have that feedback. So for us, it was like doing a stage play every week, and that energy back and forth, and it fueled the performances. It was a symbiotic relationship, and the audience was just as much a part of the show as, like, say, if you're at a sporting event, if you're like playing football and you don't have your fans up there, you're probably not going to play as well. You get that feedback, the energy, and so we were lucky to have that.
And with regard to the filming process, you say 22 episodes, a very intense working schedule. what would you do to relax? And would you relax as a group? I mean, if you went out, say the series ends with the finale, you finish the finale, you pop a couple of champagne bottles, that kind of thing. But then, what did you do to kind of relax afterwards? How do you relax after working on such a high-profile show?
Do you mean like after the entire run was over?
Between runs, before you came back together?
Wow. I quit smoking now, but that used to be my crutch. I've quit smoking, but yes, I did pass some time in between scenes because Gunther did not have a lot of lines, so I would hang out with like the crew and the grips and stuff outside and smoke a cigarette. I know it's bad, don't smoke. It's terrible habit, and I did break it. So yeah, basically just chatting with people, and playing cards. Anything that was little tension reliever things, just trying to keep busy, keep your mind going. Couldn't really afford to like turn the brain off and relax too much in between takes. You had to be on. So yeah, it was, people stayed focused, honestly, but yeah, when we'd get through filming an episode, basically people just go home and go to sleep.
No hard partying then, not that Chateau Marmont.
No.
And with the show, you get to the end of the season. Was there always that sense of feeling, will we get picked up for another season? Did you have that genuine fear in those early years?
I can only speak for myself, but of course this is in the days before social media, and so I just had a newspaper to look for what ratings were. And I was a background performer for the first season. I didn't speak until the 33 episode, which was midway through the second season. So in that summer between, I was at home working in a real coffee shop and wondering if I was going to be able to come back and have that extra $44 a week that I was dependent upon to supplement my income and my rent and my free meal from craft service. I didn't know until about a week before I thought the show was supposed to come back, so I didn't know if I was coming back or not. So I called the second AD and I said, "Hey Joel, Friends, is the show, did it get picked up?" He was like, "Are you kidding me? It was #1 all summer in reruns, and now we're going to be on a bigger sound stage, and we're going to have much better craft service. You're not going to have to eat hot dogs now. We have sushi."
Was that what you had to eat? You and the rest of the cast would eat hot dogs in that first season?
Well, I mean, that was kind of what was available on the set. It was chips, potato chips, like in American crisps, as I would say. Hot dogs, little hot dog machine. I remember that. But no, it wasn't that desperate. There was a very nice canteen on the studio lot, so we would go over there and have the canteen food, cafeteria style.
And you say it was in episode 33 when you had your first line, background performer for a season and a half. What happened to you out on the street once that show went live? In terms of recognition, do people pick up on you beforehand? They would have known you from beforehand. They would have seen you, but all of a sudden you've had a line. What happened after that?
Well, funny story. As I said earlier, I was an actual barista in a coffee shop called the Bourgeois Pig in Hollywood when Friends started. So I got called in to be the barista in Friends, who was not Gunther. It was just Coffee Guy. Once he became Gunther, I kept my job at the Bourgeois Pig coffee shop as an actual barista for the first 5 years of Friends. Now, I was established as Gunther midway through season 2, so a lot of people would come into the real coffee shop and I would make them an actual cappuccino, and they would just do a double take. It's like, what are you, you're the guy on TV too, and why are you here making real coffee? I'm like, I know how tenuous being an actor in Hollywood can be, so I'm keeping my day job until I'm guaranteed on some way, either up here or just a general feeling that I think this show might continue. I think it might still go on a little bit more, but yeah, I'm not stupid. I'm an actor.
And just finally, I was wondering about that in terms of the financial security of it, because it was well known about the negotiations for the cast and their salaries and whatnot. Has streaming given you a nice pension? I mean, are you able to kind of use that as a pension? The show's continued success, the fact it's such a bargaining chip between huge global streaming companies.
Very fortunately, I'm not an accountant. I just can stay completely out of that. I'm very happy if I do get a residual check. For myself specifically, I do get residuals, not on the, I wasn't paid $1 million an episode, of course. That would be a completely different story. You would not be interviewed, okay? I'm paid for episodes that I spoke in, and it's a sliding scale. I don't know how it works. I'm fortunate to have a supplement into my income because of friends. However, I'm still a working actor. I didn't just rest on my laurels and say, "I was Gunther. I'm going to buy an island." I couldn't do that anyway.
And we'll see you in a horror film soon.
Yes, it's called Processing, an Indiegogo campaign. If you go to my Instagram, which is Slate_Michael, it'll say yep, Gunther from Friends, and it'll be a picture of something like me. There's a link in my bio, and hopefully we would love for you to donate, and you can be a producer if you donate.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you
Absolutely.
very much.